We only had the CRV in our stable a week when FK came home and said the battery light was on, so I performed a quick test with a battery tester. This is a reenactment on another vehicle. You can actually do this test with a simple voltmeter. When the vehicle is not running, a good battery will usually show a little more than 12.5 volts. With the engine running, and therefore the alternator charging, the battery should read over 14 volts. The battery in the CRV showed excellent health, so we're going to replace the alternator. Now, if you're here for a quick tutorial on changing the CRV alternator, you'll likely be disappointed. This is just part of a light restoration series on this CRV, and we've decided while we're in here, we might as well do the timing components, since we don't know how old they are. And we'll change a few other ailing parts along the way. We're shooting for roughly 20 to 30 minute episodes, so you get what you get in that time. Hopefully you'll come back for the next one. The current mileage. So I think the first thing we need to do is jack this up and get this front driver's side wheel off. Should have started these before I jacked it up. That's okay. Well, I need to get this skirt off. Well, I don't think the screwing makes a difference. Now that one's screwing out. I don't want to ruin this. Pull on it. Yeah. So this skirt is one piece all the way around. Oil over there. I think that's probably going to be the rear main seal. Oil here. But you know, it actually doesn't use much. You might need to top it off a little in one oil change, but we drove it about 1,000 miles and I didn't need to add any, so. I just pulled on this and this whole thing just folds down like that. And here is what we see over here, which is pretty good. So this is very limp. It's just connected by that little piece right there. Oh, look at all that oil and dirt there. Look at these belts. Oh man, those have been ready to go for a while. They're super cracked. But looks like we got access to everything. Oh, this engine mount's bad. I need to order one of those. That's not even connected, it's just rocking around in there. All right, next thing we need to do is get off these accessory belts. I almost forgot, let's disconnect the battery. Actually, is that the hot side? Where's the plus and minus? Usually the hot side has more going to it. I think it is the hot side. Well, since we're going to be doing the alternator, it's probably good to disconnect both sides anyways. Just completely disconnect everything. Alright. Okay, it looks like the power steering pump belt is the first in the way. So let's get rid of that. Looks like there's an adjustment bolt down here that we can loosen. And then probably this bolt right here. Hopefully that's it. Maybe there's one more, but we'll loosen those two and we can probably slacken that up and take that belt off. Yeah. There we go. Now, will this move yet? Or is there something else holding it? It feels pretty loose. But it doesn't look like it moved. Oh yeah, it's moving. It's just this hose. Pop this hose out of this clamp here. There we go. Just don't give you much room to work in here. I actually recommend taking the power steering pump completely off, which we might do. I just don't want to unhook all those hoses. There's that. Here for now. Look how clean that bolt looks in there. The bolt is trapped behind this high pressure hose, so I have to keep pulling out on this just to get more room to work. I think that's it. Yep, there it is. All right, looks like I'm gonna have to detach something from this reservoir to get this up and out of the way. It's okay, the reservoir needs to be flushed out anyway. This ground needs to get out of the way. Take that off. Gives us some wiggle room. Do we want to take it completely off? I don't think it's necessary. I think that's out of the way enough. We'll see. Let's come down here and go ahead and pull this power steering belt completely off. Now we got to work on the next belt. We'll look at it from the top, see if you can see what I see. Down there is an idler pulley, tensioner pulley, with looks like a 12 millimeter hidden under the belt right there. Maybe we can see it underneath. There's the one bolt up there we got to loosen. I wasn't referencing the repair manual when filming this part of the repair, so I do some rambling that I won't subject you to, but will instead dub it with more concise information. So down here in front of the pulley we were just looking at is the tensioning system for the pulley. This rod screws in and presses against the pulley bracket to add tension to the belt. This nut locks the rod in place. So to loosen the belt, we need to first loosen this nut and then back this rod out a little. And of course, we'll also need to loosen the mounting bracket bolt a little to allow the bracket to pivot. So I first loosen the locking nut with a deep well 12 millimeter socket, and then I back out the rod with a 7 millimeter socket on a 1/4 inch socket wrench. So I do need to loosen up that other bolt on the tensioner pulley located under that belt right there. This pump is just totally in the way. The reason I haven't taken this pump off, and I do think it probably is a good idea, is because I don't have anything large enough to plug this hose to keep it from leaking everywhere. I think I'm going to try to do that anyway. This is the largest plug type thing I have, and that's not going to cut it. It's another little handful of plugs. Way too small. I don't think I have any bolts that thick either. Well, let's just see what happens when we remove this hose. I got some rubber bands and the thumb of a nitrile glove. We'll see if we can use that to keep this from going everywhere. And of course this is on the inside instead of the outside. I'm just gonna not make that easy. Pull this up. See if I can turn it around. There we go, we're moving it. Here we go. All right. Now let's loosen this up. Loose. Twist. Maybe. Doesn't feel like it's moving. When I get a hold of these, I can't really turn them. Oh, I think it might have moved. Yep. Where'd my little glove thing go? Oh no, I probably dropped it. Fit over there. Yes. Put a little rubber band around it. All right. Now we'll put one over this. It's a ring finger. That over that. Get it on there. Yeah. Use some shop towels and clean this up. Okay, let's see if now we can get this up and out of the way. Move this. But there we go. Yeah, look at that. That gives us a lot more room to work. Now maybe I can get this bolt off. Yeah. Well. And instantly loosen that pulley up. So this belt should come off. Of course, it goes around that engine mount. So this belt goes around this engine mount. I guess we just loosen that bolt and the bolt over here. Pull that bracket down and it'll just slip off over this rod. And before we do that, I guess we're gonna have to put a jack under the engine. All I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this until I see this loosen up, and it did. Yeah, I can see that moving. So that should be sufficient. There we go. I really need to get out my electric ratchet. Alright, I'd say that's worn out. Makes it easier to get this off. So what's next? Alternator belt. Alright, what do we loosen? I loosen this. Look how small this hole is here. So here's the alternator. It's got to come around the bracket. It can't come through the bottom. It's got to come through the top. Let's go look at that. So here it is from the top. Looks like we can probably finagle it through here. All right, here's a bracket right there. But where's the one that drives it in and out? I'm gonna send a camera down there and see if we can see it. So here we go with the scope. Well, there's that bracket. I'm not seeing how you tension it. No, those are just two bolts holding that bracket on, aren't they? Maybe it doesn't have a tensioner. Maybe this is one of those you tension with a crowbar. So maybe I just loosen that bolt right there and the one underneath, and then this will just slacken up. All we can do is loosen those up and see what happens. So we'll loosen this one up. I think that's working. Hopefully that's not the wrench breaking. Might be far enough to get a little spanner down there. Yeah. All right, that's loose. So this looks like another 14. I don't need a deep well, but let's see if we can find a 6-point instead of a 12-point. Yes, indeed. Just because this one looks a little rusty. Yeah. All right, so that's loose. Oh yeah. Well, there you go. All that trouble looking for that extra tensioner, and there isn't one. Just loosen those 2 bolts, and then we can get this off. Maybe there's stuck one up there. It's just stuck under this other pulley. There we go. There we go. Let's go ahead and see if we can get the alternator out of there. Take this bolt all the way off. This one's a nut. Which probably means we're going to have to drive that out. Let's get the upper one off first. Just see if that moves. Yeah, there it goes. That's going to be fun trying to thread back through there. Actually, before I take the upper bolt off, I probably need to unhook the electrical from it. I'll pull out that square connector and then take this insulator off and undo the nut that's under here. There we go. Insulator. Oot. I'll tear it off. I've seen a lot of videos where these things are missing. There we go. Slid back. Expose that nut right there. Well, they're good. All right. No, that doesn't feel good. I need 12 point number 10. That works better. Yeah, that's better. That's off. Get that out of the way. This nut back on this. And see if I can get that connector out. Looks like the grippy thing is on the top there, so there it goes. Nice. Got it. Get a little B-roll. Just finish loosening this top bolt and see if we can pull it up through this hole. Oh, and I can loosen it by hand. All right. There it goes. So that should come out. And it does. Here it is. So there's it's like a carriage bolt that was behind it. And this whole thing should come up. Hopefully I don't have to take off the master cylinder here to get it through there. But it looks like I might have to take this bracket off. I broke that connection right there. This plastic's so brittle. Alright, let's just see how this moves. Coming off at all. I have to put a pry bar under there. There it is. Is there any way to get this through here? Power steering's still in the way. Let's see if we can move that. We're going to have to take this bracket off. Okay, back so we don't lose it. I think some people have said you got to get these wires out of the way. Maybe remove this vacuum hose. You don't want to break this sensor. Let me take this sensor out. 16, that's not going to do it. Looks like I might have to use one of these crow's foots. Will 18 work? No, I won't. Let's try 22. 22 is my next option, and it's too big. I might be able to get a socket over that. Well, I couldn't find one, so I'm going to go in with this adjustable wrench. I think the easiest alternator I ever did is on a Ford Thunderbird, 1996 Ford Thunderbird. Yeah, there we go. It was literally just sitting right on top of the engine. I don't even really know what sensor this is, but got it out of the way. Will that give me enough room? Maybe need to remove this connector under here too. Remember where it goes. Oh, little connector thing just broke off. Maybe I shouldn't have touched it. All right, now let's see if we can get this through here. Yeah, the manual just says, literally says loosen bolts and remove alternator. Seems like something else is breaking. Guess they never expected you to have to change the alternator. see if I can get it around without taking the booster off. I just don't think it's going to fit through here. Ah, there's the problem. Well, part of it at least. There's a plastic connector on there holding it in. So let's see what I'm doing. I need to remove this little nut right here to get the bracket that holds this plastic connector off. Try the little ratchet. Alright, well, I'm going to work at this a while, try and get this little nut off. I'm not wasting film. Alright, I used my 8 ratcheting crescent wrench here and got the little thing loosened. So that bracket should come off. There we go. Now let's see if that helps at all. Through here. It's looking more promising. Oh, it doesn't like that brake booster. Ah, there we go. Yes. Whew. Not fun. Not fun at all. But it's done for now. The sun is going down and the temperature is dropping. Okay, here is the original Denso alternator. I was actually wanting to have this one rebuilt, but then, you know, I looked at the pricing and all, and it'd be about the same thing as what I think is a really decent alternator. So I'm just going to hang on to this. I'm not even going to do the core thing in case I do need another alternator in the future, which hopefully I won't. And if we do, maybe we'll rebuild this one, because this one is definitely the Honda made in Japan alternator. Let's make sure the new one looks just like it. So the new one is Bosch. It does not look like that, I don't think. It's supposed to be exactly identical to this, and it's actually supposed to be a really high quality one. It might be a rebuilt Nippon Denso alternator. Hopefully it's not a rebuilt Chinese alternator. Let's compare the two. Well, that looks different than that. Same connector, square connector. Same basic shape. Both sides. All the screw holes and extra holes are in the exact same places on the case. So these windings have been painted black. This does look like it's rebuilt just from the spray paint job on this. Now, see the windings in there. And the dirty windings in here. Looks okay. Everything looks nice and new in there. It doesn't feel cheap. I know sometimes the Chinese stuff will feel lighter. This definitely feels like OEM quality. So hopefully this is going to be a decent one. It's remanufactured in the USA. So before I put it on, I want to make sure everything on it is what is on this one and nothing is not on it that is not on this one, because I don't want to get it halfway in there and then realize I forgot to put something on, or I put too much on and I can't fit it through the hole. You do hear a little noise in there. Listen. Just a slight little bit of bearing grind, and this is just silent. A little harder to turn, but silent. Got the nut covering the terminal, protect the threads. There's nothing else on here. Everything's been removed, so looks like we're good to stick it in. As always, thank you for watching. Please comment below, and I hope to see y'all in the next one.